Okay, hi everyone. I hope you all can hear me. And if you can't, of course, let me know. I'm here in the convention hall where the conference is happening. And it's a huge convention hall. And we have a powerful Wi-Fi connection, it looks like. So that's good to have, and that's something that I have to keep in mind when making hotel reservations. Make sure the Wi-Fi is high speed. Okay, so we have our short class now, and again, if there's any issues, please let me know in the chat or speak up. And since we are meeting for 50 minutes now, we should move a little more quickly to discuss civil rights and make sure we have enough time for your debate so that we can give you the chance to use your knowledge that you gain from your paragraphs. And so, but of course, unless I do it when I first recall it, we need to, I'll forget it. So let's do what I'm referring to, which is the smart attendance. And so let me go to the website and do the smart attendance so that we get that out of the way. And I think that's it, and that's not it. And so we've got just a second here. Let me go to smart attendance, and as I look for the smart attendance campus numbers, smart attendance, and here we go. Okay, log in, And you can all hear me? Good, good. And so get this out of the way and go to Introduction to American Political Institutions and go to Attendance and click on, we are now in week 5 and Smart Attendance, and your Smart Attendance number, once it comes up, if it comes up, it should come up. Where is it? Always something exciting here. Waiting for the Smart Attendance number to emerge. And it's not coming up for some reason. Well, we'll just come back to that maybe later. So let's go on then to the exercise that we were doing at the last class and continue with that. And so we got to page 7 and 8. And so let me open that up and make sure you can see that. Share screen. And you see this exercise and the road to civil rights. And there you see some famous people that we've talked about in previous exercises. And so you see, we're continuing on with a little exercise here. Again, you won't spend too much time on these because these are pretty simple. So let me go back to the breakout rooms and make you into two rooms and create automatically and open all the rooms. So please join those rooms. So Chung Do Jin and Micah Bedinsky and Joe Jean, please join room 1. And Anais and Cyril Amorsky and Kim Pyong-koo, please join room 3. And so please join those rooms. And let me go back while you're joining those groups to find out what's going on with the smart attendance. Why is this not working? I don't know. Let me try one more time to open up the smart attendance and here and this. And while you're, let's go back to the breakout room. So let's have room 1 will do the first exercise and room 2 will do the second exercise. And let me go back to the sharing the screen. And so you see here, Chung Do, and so yeah, the first person in each group will speak. So it assigned Chung Do Jin will do, and room 1 will do this exercise, and room 2 will do this second exercise. So they're very simple. And so I'll give you 1 minute to help Chung Do Jin to speak, and I Moose prepare her to speak. So let me close all the rooms. So you have 1 minute to get ready. Okay, so I can't get the smart attendance to work, so we won't worry about it. But let's then go to the breakout rooms and ask Chung Do Jin to tell us the answers to these questions.
Professor, excuse me, but
yeah,
I think you don't share the file to us.
Oh, that's right. I'm
Yes.
sorry. You're right. Thank you very much. So let me go back to the breakout room. Let me go to the chat and go like this, and from my computer, and we go. Thank you for reminding me. And go open, and there you have the file now, right? So please open the file, and then go back to the breakout rooms. So again, now that you have the file, let me give you 1 minute to get ready. And so Juliet will put you in room 2. Okay. And then close all the rooms, so you have 1 minute to prepare. And okay, so let's go to the exercise. So Chung Dujin, who from this group would you place under this description? It says, let me make sure that you're able to see the screen that I see. And so we got Chung Dujin here. And so I started the Montgomery bus boycott when I refused to give up my seat to a white man who got on the bus. I was the secretary of the local National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Who am I? Which of these people? Chung Dujin.
I think the Rosa Parks.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yes.
Let's go to the next one. I disagreed with the way Martin Luther King Jr. fought for civil rights. I promised Black pride and was a member of Islam. Who am I?
He is Malcolm X.
Correct, correct.
Yes.
My parents fought for me to attend the all-white public school near my house. Who am I?
Is Lisa Brown.
Linda Brown. Linda.
Linda
Yeah.
Brown.
I argued before the Supreme Court for the Brown family in Brown versus Board of Education in Little Rock, Arkansas, the Board of Education of Little Rock, Arkansas. Years later, I became the first African-American Chief Court Justice. Who am I?
He's Thurgood Marshall.
Good.
Yes.
As President of the United States, I signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 1965, and Civil Rights Act of 1968 into law. Who am I?
Yes, he is Lyndon B. Johnson.
Good, good. Okay, okay. And then the next group, the next exercise. All right. So you're supposed to draw a line between these boxes. So this one's already answered for you. Mildred, African American, and Richard Loving, white, get married in Washington, D.C., and move to Virginia, where they are charged with a crime. That's the story. The problem is Virginia law that says you can only marry someone who is the same race as you. And Supreme Court solution, 1967, Loving versus Virginia. The court decides that state laws banning interracial marriage are unconstitutional. And I think significant number of states, not all states, but a significant number of the American states had restrictions on racial marriage, interracial marriage. Okay, so the next, who's speaking for room 2? Is that Kim Pyong-koo? Who's speaking for room 2? A group of African Americans tried to check into a hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. So that's the story.
Yes.
So which of these do you draw the line to?
To the first one in the
Yes,
problem?
the owner of the Heart of Atlanta Hotel refused to rent rooms to Blacks, even though the Civil Rights Act of 1964 said he had to. And so the Supreme Court solution?
To the third one.
Yeah, in 1964, Heart of Atlanta versus United States. The court said that the federal government could enforce desegregation laws on businesses that serve people from other states. Right, and the last one here, African Americans were forced to sit and stand in different areas of the public transportation system. So there's only one box left, right? State and local laws said that all of the city buses, trains, and subway cars must be divided into areas for different races. And the solution, 1962, Bailey versus Patterson, the court banned racial segregation of interstate. That means movement from one state to another state, interstate, and intrastate within one state transportation facilities. So, and this all happened really, this Brown versus Board of Education decision was in the 1950s, but these all happened in my life, right? I mean, I was born in 1962. So this is not that long ago, right? Not that long ago at all. And okay, so then let's go to the next exercise and close that one and go to chat and share another file from my computer, and that is page 9. And so please open that up and now that I've sent it there to you, and go here. Let me click on that. Okay, well, this is, let me again make sure that you can see this. And so we'll go here, we'll go share screen. And so you can see, here it is. And so this is the file I just sent you. And so you're supposed to put these numbers on the places where they are located on this map. And so let me stop share and put you recreate 2 rooms, assign automatically, recreate. And this time we have Cyril and Ais will speak. So please, please join the group. Cyril, Juliet, Micah, and Kim Pyong-koo join room 1. And Ais, Moose, Chung Do-jin, and Jo Woo-jin join room 2. And Cyril, Juliet, where's Cyril? Okay, Cyril disappeared. Juliet, it looked like you're the person who's going to represent room 1, and Ais is going to represent room 2. And so work on where those cities are located to practice your knowledge of American geography. And so you have 1 minute. Okay, and I think your time is 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we will, so Juliet will speak first. So let's have Juliet do the first 4, room 1 do the first 4. So Juliet, where is Montgomery on these, Montgomery, Alabama on these, on this map?
I don't know, I'm sorry, and we didn't have so much time to talk about.
Anybody else from room 1 want to guess where Montgomery, Alabama is? Well, where's the state of Alabama? Which of these states is Alabama? Let's test your knowledge of American geography. Which of these states is Alabama? Anyone? Well, I don't want to spend too much time on it. Of course, again, Montgomery, this is Alabama here. And I think this is Montgomery. I could be, but the point we want to emphasize is these are all states that were part of the American Confederacy. These states, going all the way out to Texas, these states all attempted to secede from the United States in 1860 and create the Confederate States of America. See, these are all the so-called Deep South states that tried to break away and to protect the institution of slavery. And that's not to say there wasn't discrimination in the northern states. There was. I mean, this is Ohio, my home state. There was, stories my parents told me about what they used to see in terms of segregation in my home city in Ohio. This is Georgia. Can anybody tell me where North Carolina is? This is North Carolina here. And this is Jackson, Mississippi. And this is Mississippi. And we'll just get through this. 5 is Washington. This is where people marched in 1963, led by Martin Luther King Jr., and gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech here. So on the borderlands with the Confederacy. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, West Virginia and Virginia. This is Virginia, and this is West Virginia. So West Virginia is a separate state, but this state was created during the Civil War because these counties that constituted this part of what had been Virginia did not want to secede from the United States. So I think it's 36 counties were occupied by soldiers sent in from Ohio, and they occupied these 36 counties, and these 36 counties became West Virginia in 1860. And this remains Virginia. But of course, keep in mind, right? This had been the biggest, most popular, most powerful state in 13 original states that founded the United States. This is the home state of George Washington, of Thomas Jefferson, produced one of the state that produced the most presidents, and it was also one of the states that tried to form the Confederacy to break away from the United States, even though so many of the American Republic's founders had started their lives in Virginia. And Selma, Alabama, another Alabama case, and in Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee is where I'm in Nashville. I think Nashville, Tennessee is right here, right in the middle of the state. And this is Memphis, Tennessee. And this is where Martin Luther King Jr. was shot and killed and assassinated in April. Oh yeah, it's coming up on the anniversary in 1968 in a hotel in Memphis, Tennessee. And okay, so then we go back to the what's left on the exercise. So okay, so this is the teacher's guide, and I don't know if we need to see this. Well, yeah, these are the answers. So I don't think we need to spend time on this. I'll send you the teacher's guide later because I already gave you the answers verbally, and just to see where is Selma, what's Montgomery and what's Selma. So let me go back to here and screen share, and you can see that Montgomery is here and Selma, Alabama is here. In Selma, 600 marchers calling for voting rights are stopped and assaulted by police officers and others on the outskirts of Selma. Martin Luther King Jr. leads a second march and seeks court protection for an even larger march. The demonstrators win, and up to 25,000 march from Selma to Montgomery, sleeping in fields as they make the 4-day trek. And as I told you, in Montgomery, there's now a big Hyundai, a Korean automobile plant in Montgomery, along with a big NASA research base. And that's maybe an important point to note. Here you see Lyndon Johnson here, and he had to get this legislation that was passed through the U.S. Congress. All these civil rights acts of 1964, 1965, and 1968, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and the Civil Rights Act. This was passed through the U.S. Congress, and to get the American politicians, particularly from these regions, of enough support in this region to agree to this legislation, Johnson, who had been previously a senator from Texas and was known to be quite skillful politician, at least in getting legislation through the U.S. Congress, he had to make deals, agreements with these politicians. And so you find that much of the American space program facilities that help put U.S. Space mission to the moon successfully by the end of the 1960s, these bases were created here. So there's I already mentioned, there's a big space research base here in Montgomery, Alabama. There's one in Houston, of course, as well, where the mission control for space programs is based. Of course, down here, of course, is, also in Florida is the launch site for American bases. There are also lots of military bases. So the point is that he had to, aside from appealing to their ethical and moral principles, and also reminding these politicians that the Soviet Union and their whole world is watching what's going on in America and is comparing the United States with the Soviet Union during the Cold War, that he's also offering material benefits and incentives, because this region is the poorest region in the United States. This is still the poorest per capita income region in the United States. Mississippi and West Virginia are 49th and 50th among the 50 states in terms of the poverty level, in terms of the lowest of income. This is a very mountainous area where coal is mined, and this is a rich, fertile farm area, but of course, it's also very, very poor. So this area is the poorest part of the United States. And so those research facilities were part of a modernization plan that would help these politicians who, if they were sympathetic to what Lyndon Johnson was calling for, they could offer to their voters, see what I've done for you. I've gotten these new military bases and new space bases that are going to employ lots of people and bring lots of money to our home states. So that's typically what happens in terms of American politics, that in order for legislation to be passed, there has to be trading and bargains and trade-offs made to persuade the U.S. Congress to pass legislation. And it's typically very difficult, and it happens rarely, typically only when one party controls the presidency and the Senate and the House of Representatives in the U.S. Congress. And at this point, Lyndon Johnson came to power in 1964 after John F. Kennedy was murdered, after John F. Kennedy was killed, and he beat the opponent, his opponent, Barry Goldwater, in the 1964 election by a big majority, by big majorities, and the U.S. Congress was dominated by the Democratic Party as well. And so during that time, he was able to get lots of legislation passed that is really the most important domestic legislation in the 20th century. And it's still a source of controversy and interpretation today by Supreme Court justices, and about what the content of that legislation that was passed in the 1960s, what does it mean? Like, for example, some of this legislation refers to what the most recent controversy is, that it also says that employers should not discriminate against people on the basis of their sex. So in other words, sex was understood in the 1960s to refer to women, right? That discrimination against women in hiring and promotion should not happen. Discrimination against women was the understanding what sex means. So, but that word sex has now been reinterpreted in the last 10 years to be gender orientation. So you cannot discriminate. You're not supposed to discriminate again if you're an employer against gay people, or people, of course, or people that are gay people that are married and openly married to another person of the same biological sex. So that's kind of debates and discussions continue to the discussion of the expansion of civil rights to new groups and protections, still referencing this legislation. So this is very timely regarding present political controversies in the United States. Okay, so I think that's it for the exercises. So we should then go to the debate, so that everybody has a chance to debate. And we go back to the to the lesson plan for today. If I opened it up, I think. Let me do that. I think I opened up the lesson plan. Let me see here. And so, okay, and we go share. And here you see our debate topic. You know, this is our last class in civil rights. So maybe before we get to the debate topic, if we leave, you know, at least 15, maybe 20 minutes for that, to finish up on covering the notes that I sent you. And if you look at the notes that that I sent you, that you know, there's some references in the notes to those important court cases. You see here, for example, let me go back here and open up these notes. And the Plessy versus Ferguson was a notorious court case by the Supreme Court in 1896 that said separate but equal facilities for races was legal. Segregation was legal. So the Supreme Court itself ruled 50 years before, more than about 50 years before Brown versus Board of Education, that segregation was legal. And so the Supreme Court had to overturn its own precedent in the 1950s to encourage further efforts that were already underway to end segregation. So the Supreme Court has to change its rulings on the basis of the changing attitudes, demands, and expectations of American society. And the question is, of course, well, I mean, let's see, Roe v. Wade, of course, is also mentioned in court cases regarding women's right to access to an abortion that was decided in 1973. But the Supreme Court might well this year overturn Roe versus Wade or severely restrict it. So Supreme Court is affected by the changing political environment in the United States, right? So the law and the judicial system are political institutions, even though legal activists, well, legal professionals will often claim that, oh no, the law is not political. The law is not a political act. The dispensation of justice is not based upon politics, but it's still very a political process. Anything created by human beings is political process, including law and rights and liberties. All right, so yeah, that was the, in that Plessy versus Ferguson ruling was separate but equal term. So let me go back, also talk about the PowerPoint slides. And so we open up the PowerPoint slides. I think I already did that. Yes, I know I did that. So make sure that you can see them. Go to share screen and share. And so, yeah, I mean, of course, you know, again, this demands to end slavery or to give women the right to vote. These were granted not because powerful, rich white men felt bad about the treatment of these people and decided out of the goodness of their own hearts that they were going to give women, for example, the right to vote. It was because there was hard work by many, many, many people over a long period of time to push and demand and change American society in demanding for what was considered, when the American Constitution was written, it was considered, you know, outlandish, for example, in 1791, that women should have the right to vote. I mean, I'm sure there were people who thought, of course, back in 1791, that women should have the right to vote. But the prevailing dominant view 250 years ago was that women can't have the right to vote. Women don't have the facility. They don't have the mental capacity to vote. Women are like children. Women are dependents of men. So they're going to do what their husbands tell them, or they're going to be overly influenced by their husbands. So of course, women can't have the right to vote. It was considered obvious 250 years ago. Then obviously America changed, right? So we might think it's obvious that marriage is between a man and a woman, but things always change in terms of prevailing views and expectations. But these changes happen not just because there's grow more and more prosperity, more and more wealth, less and less poverty, and more technology. That's also very important. That's extremely important. But also important, essential, and critical is the efforts of the mobilized activists and their followers and their supporters to translate these aspirations and their wishes and beliefs into organized social justice movements that generate public opinion pressure on government officials to change the laws, so this is some history, and I don't know we want to spend much time on this history about the end of slavery and the anger over slavery and a growing polarization over slavery. The Civil War amendments, I already mentioned those. The 13th Amendment bans slavery. The 14th Amendment, this is the amendment that guarantees equal protection for all under law. And the 15th Amendment specifically said that Black men have the right to vote. And but of course, these laws, these amendments would be weakened and eventually become relatively superficial by the end of the 19th century. Slavery wasn't brought back, but so many Black people in the South became de facto serfs because of their overwhelming, hopeless amounts of debt that they owed the landowner in which they farmed, that they basically were. They couldn't, you can't just abandon your debts, right? I mean, if you owe money, you have to pay that money back. If you can't pay that money back, the sheriff is going to be involved in some way. So slavery didn't come back, but some form of de facto debt bondage emerged. And the people that, many of these Black people moved to the North to work in the American cities where the industry was located during the beginning, particularly during, accelerating particularly during the First World War, as white men were being called to serve in the U.S. and drafted to serve in the U.S. Army, fighting in Europe in World War I. Black people began to move en masse in what's called the Great Migration from the agricultural South to work in Chicago and Cleveland and out west in San Francisco and Los Angeles in industry. And they abandoned their poverty-stricken agricultural sharecropping lives and escaped. These are the Civil Rights Amendments. And then we already talked about Jim Crow laws that basically eviscerated or emptied out the substance of these civil rights in the U.S. Constitution. There were efforts to fight this growing political pressure from white supremacists and segregationists, but the U.S. Supreme Court decided through the late 19th century that, discrimination could be acceptable. And just that's an important point to keep in mind. The condition for Black people in the United States was much better from 1865 until 1877 for 12 years than it was from 1877 until 1950. So we have this belief in America, in many places, that the history is a story of continuous improvement and betterment, and that American development and American history is a story of progress. But we can go backward. America has gone backward. America went backward after the end of Reconstruction in 1877 to reconstruct the Union when the American Northern troops were pulled out, and Jim Crow laws were instituted. And basically Black people in the American South basically could not vote until I was born. So that's always a point to keep in mind, that we believe that, okay, women have the right to access to legal abortion. That can be taken away. Maybe not blatantly, like, saying abortion is illegal, but basically making it just virtually impossible for any woman who's not rich, who can't fly to another country to get an abortion, who can't drive to Mexico to get an abortion, to basically make it impossible to get an abortion. So let's go, talk about, in the progressive era, there was attacks on Jim Crow laws and attacks on, along with, of course, this is also covering the First World War period, and founding of the NAACP by W.D. Du Bois, a member of the Niagara movement, calling for also the rights of women to vote, going on here. Key women's groups were also playing a role here in terms of getting women the right to vote in the 19th Amendment that was finally adopted in 1920. And the NAACP is launching legal cases, of course. Then these efforts to overturn Plessy versus Ferguson then became overwhelmed by the growing conflict in Europe and the desire to avoid turbulence at home in order to deal with this emerging threat. So there was efforts to overturn Jim Crow laws earlier than 1950s, but the Second World War got in the way and slowed things down until then when Harry S. Truman, the president when the Korean War started, after the Second World War, began to pass or issue directives, executive orders. For example, he issued an executive order in 1948 before the Korean War, ordering the US military to desegregate and to integrate the white and black troops. Okay, Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, the Civil Rights Movement, and so on. So, and then we already briefly referenced Martin Luther King Jr., formation of new groups. Again, these are all the components of social justice movement, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and again, all described here in terms of barring discrimination and ending segregation, and then these rights are then encouraging each other with the granting of substantive rights to Black people. Women's activism becomes more strong to go beyond the right to vote to including ending discrimination against women in the workplace, for example. And so the Equal Protection Clause we already mentioned is the 14th Amendment's element, which says that all people are due equal protection under the law. And the Supreme Court has been using that to enforce changes, including for sex discrimination and so on. So other groups, well, we'll have to come back because we're running out of time here. Oh, this is interesting. Recent controversy, gay rights in Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel is a restaurant chain in the United States. They were discriminated against, the claim was they discriminated against homosexuals by requiring that employees exhibit heterosexual values on the job. That's interesting because there's a Cracker Barrel right next to my hotel where I'm staying here. So let's go to our debate and let's break you up. I will form two groups and recreate and assign, let you choose which side you want to join. And so room 1 is pro and room 2 is con. And please join these groups on the basis, I assume, of your paragraphs. So please join pro or con based upon your position in your paragraphs. And please do that. So please join pro or con for our debate. And pro or con, please join. And I think, let me see if I've done that. Let me go back to the cyber campus and who's con on the debate? I don't have you can join whichever group you want, but please join one of them. Otherwise, I'll assign you to one of the groups. And so let me go back to Cyber Campus and open up the Cyber Campus and go to and we go to a little more time here, attendance and 5 add. It's just not working for some reason. It's very strange. Oh, okay, start attendance. So your number is 541. 541 is your smart attendance number, so put that in chat. 541, finally came up. Okay, 541 is your smart attendance number. And Okay, so, and you're in the breakout room, so, Juliet, you have to join one of the groups. All right, so Cyril will speak first for pro,
But
and
how do
Mike,
I do it?
okay, I will assign you, I'll assign you to Con, okay?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, thanks.
okay, so Cyril, are you ready to go for pro? And close all the rooms. So help each other prepare. And so we'll start off with Cyril for pro and Micah for con. And so here is the debate topic. And that's not the one I want. Okay. And America's the freest power in the world. Did I get that set up? Let me see. I want to see if I got that set up here. And I didn't set it up. I have to do that now. So we go 5. This. And okay, do that for today here. 10 o'clock. And like that. And this. Okay. And so pro. Con. Neutral cannot decide. Okay. And all right. So Cyril, begin, please. Make your pro statement.
All right, so to be honest, I have a position that is somewhere in between. But if I had to choose one, I would still say pro, that I agree with the statement, because in terms of constitutional rights, in fact, in the US, it seems at least that it is one of the freest nations on earth. Maybe not the freest, but at least one of them, because if we talk about freedom of speech, it's probably the country with the most absolute one, whether we think it is correct or not. Personally, as a European, I do not necessarily agree with that. But still, in terms of absolute liberty, it is a fact. And we have to keep in mind that people fought for these rights for years, for centuries, and that, for example, when we talk about women's rights, as we saw it in the text, the first convention on that matter was in 1848. And even though it was far from being the first country that allowed women to vote, it still was one of the countries that really, well, that had a population that really cared about these topics, about these matters, and with a population that fought for its civil rights and civil liberties. I think that one of the limits today is, of course, to say that there are still differences between different ethnic groups and minority groups. So this is a big issue still in the country. But overall, the country has made strong progress from its establishment to today, till today.
Okay. Okay, Micah, what is your con response? Micah Belinsky.
Yes, so I said that even though the United States might have those constitutional, always grants their people those constitutional rights, they don't really mean anything if they're not defined, understood, and practiced in a way that encompasses everyone, no matter their ethnicity, nationality, gender, sex, religion, or sexual orientation. So the United States might grant those, but still this status quo shows that, for example, women are still being discriminated against in their reproductive rights and their pay and professional positions that they can occupy. And for example, also that Blacks are less likely to be employed and more likely to be accused for crimes due to racial bias. So even if America grants, the US grants those constitutional rights, that's all nice and cool, but still, if that, what does that mean if that doesn't really translate to reality? So it seems that a lot of that is just happening on paper, and therefore I think that some other countries are doing a far better job at actually also practicing what it says in the constitution, and therefore I think that they're freer than the US.
Okay, and so then let's go with Kim Pyong-koo. What is your pro response to Micah Belinsky's con statement, Kim Pyong-koo?
her statement was right, but I think I have to focus on the history, what United States made. They fought for the Black, and I saw a same history that our Korea had, and there was a lot of president who tried to do theirs to themselves. So, and a lot of Koreans fought for the freedom in Korea, and that can be interpreted to Korean and Americans fight for the freedom. So I was focusing on the history. So yeah.
Okay. And response, Chung Do-jin for Khan. What is your Khan response to Cyril and Kim Pyong-koo's statement? Chung Do-jin.
Yeah, I agree that America has a history for fight for the civil rights, and it's just like the Martin Luther King's the peaceful march leads the Kennedy administration passed the Civil Rights Act in Congress to ensure the racial equality. But I wonder that the two aspects of the current American society would be the obstacle for America to become the freest country in the world, which is the America's culturalism politics were based on the melting pot theories. It is different with the mosaic theories that the melting pots would be the possibility to exclude the minority cultures, and it's only for the major cultures in that society. So for example, in California, the residents of some of the residents of California who oppose the bilingual education policies for only immigrants, they passed some acts to provide education only in English in school. But this case shows that the dangerous perspective of the melting pot theories, and also the other one is that the America's the private ownership with guns would be the threat to the public security, because the one researcher says the 80 million Americans has privately owned their guns, and the 39% of the shooting rampage cases are the intentional murder. So it would be dangerous to walk around in at night, and the
Okay.
over the quite strict. So these are the points that I think America hasn't yet to be the freest major power in the world.
Okay. Anais Moose for pro. What is your pro response, Anais?
Yes, so I think that America has tried very hard to ensure the freedom of Black men, but it does mean that white men were also freer to act. So, for example, the Congress ruled that they could not prohibit private acts of discrimination, and also give states the right to choose to be a slave state or not. and eventually states changed its civil rights in 1820 to allow Missouri slavery. And later on, the states could also decide on taxes on poor, so that it would be too high for Black males to pay.
Uh-huh. Okay. And Cho Jean, what is your statement for Khan?
I look at the from an economic perspective. Of course, American citizenship has evolved in an advanced and free way. However, this advance in citizenship are related to economic growth in the United States. The so-called American dream economic growth has made the United States a successful country since World War II and has led to an increase in the number of immigrants. I think, therefore, this shows that the change the U.S. citizenship has occurred with economic growth. This situation, I think, Korean perception that the United States is a free power is more economical than citizenship. That's my opinion.
Okay, and Juliet Celez, finish up. What is your Khan statement?
I say that I agree with the fact that American civil liberties are seen to South Koreans like the most developed liberties, because they get inspired from their constitution to create the current constitution. So it meant that it was that there were already civil liberties developed in the constitution. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, and so please, let's then go back to share screen and vote on the debate topic. And it is not anonymous, so vote, please vote. And so that's it for today. And this will shut down in 6 minutes. So if you haven't voted, you have until 10 o'clock your time to vote. So that's it for today. And so I will see you on Monday, and I'll have an update in terms of, I can't remember who comes, even or odd number students on Monday. But anyway, all right, talk to you later. 안녕히 계세요.
Thank you.